Welcome back to the Convo Couch, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Jardula is here.
That is so obnoxious. I'm not, like, it's just...
and I'm Fiorella.
No, you're not my director, okay? I direct myself over here.
Sorry.
Okay?
Apologize.
Hi, guys. I'm Fiorella.
Jonathan Sue is spinning on those ones and twos.
Yeah. Fam.
All right, listen, guys, hit the like button, hit the share button, get it out there.
They're
Thumbs
not
up.
giving you notifications, clearly.
Yeah, and they're like, we get weird things happening with our videos now. Like, it shoots out, out of the gate for thousands of views, and it just stops.
Yeah.
It just pumps the brakes.
I have to add something because Misty demanded a meme.
Get on over to that Rokfin, R-O-K.
Adding a meme.
F-I-N. Subscribe for $9.99 a month for getting our premium content, and you also get everybody's premium content across the board. That's Jimmy Dore, Rob Placone, Graham Elwood, Niko Woods. Nico House, Kim Iversen, Slow News Day, Jackson Facts, Jackson Hinkle, Let Me Be Frank, Frank Analysis. Who did I miss? Black Bear, Wayne Dupree, and more.
Fam.
Guys, we got 4 watching on the Rokfin. Come on, help us out over there. And like I said, if you got 9,
do you have enough couch for the day? Because we're not done.
Oh my God, we got memes to go over.
We got the distraction of the memes because one of the sections is called Bernie's Mittens confirm a warmonger.
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna go over that because they did confirm a warmonger, Bernie's little mittens.
BT Dubs.
BT Dubs what?
We have a video this morning that we did. If you missed it, it's about Raji's trial. Very few cases ever get to be litigated in the courts when it comes to election integrity. So when you hear people, the 59, 60 cases they denied, they denied hundreds of cases. They even denied a case, and they said not on standing, and that's the DNC lawsuit with Jared Beck. When they admitted they can go into the back room, pick whoever they want. Well, that's only the Democratic primaries, Pastor. That's not the general. The general's a little bit different. No, I'm sure they grow, a character and have a coming to Jesus moment and decide not to rob anything. Like I said, it's like running into a bank with 3 people, kicking into doors, firing a blast in the air, and say, "Everybody on the floor, put the money in the bags." And as they go to get the money, you just grab the bags and run out. Don't complete the deal. I mean, they took it for granted in 2016. They were not going to lose this again in 2020. So if you're asking me, where's your evidence? Same evidence that you have for global warming or climate change. It's called election science. All right, abnormalities up the yin-yang. And we're not just talking about 1 or 2 where we can go, you know what, maybe that can happen there. We're talking many. And we're talking about the laws that were put into place unconstitutionally before the election. Yeah. And they were trying to game the system already. Like I said, I play poker. They were tipping their hands. They tried to put in the HEROES Act. Let's remove the signature verification process altogether. Why? So they can get a lot of ballots in there. It's called ballot clustering. Bill Benny talks about it. But anyways, we do have a video from Raji's case today. And what did they do? They denied us the data. Not just Raji. They denied us the data so that we can have the peace of mind knowing that nobody's going in the back end early and looking at the results that are coming in so they know where to pinpoint exactly where they need to cheat, fam, to keep their establishment cronies in office.
Stop with the QAnon nonsense.
Sorry. How do you know it's man-made, fam? How do you know it's man-made? The cracks in the ice. How do you know it's man-made?
So yeah, check out that video. It's really good. It's very, very telling, and it just really shows that it's a catch-22. We can get you adjacent evidence. We can get evidence that there is statistical anomalies and abnormalities in the system. We can get that evidence so we can look into it. The problem is they dismiss it, so you can't look into it to get the actual evidence. Yeah. You see, so when you say there's no evidence, you're wrong. But also, we can't get into the crux of the evidence because they prevent you from doing that, which should tell you that there's a reason why they're hiding shit. But if you're going to be a moron and say all of this is QAnon and say that this is all fake, I invite you to read articles, get yourself educated, and kind of explore what's going on in your state. Because New York isn't great on elections either, and California is, it's a giant state, but specifically LA County is like the largest county, and it is a county where Democrats heavily control everything, neoliberal Democrats, and they have continuously been rigging elections against progressives from the bottom up, meaning all the way from assembly district elections where you become a delegate to the tippy top. And we're going to be seeing more and more of that come to fruition, and that is a state situation where Raji Rabb is taking his case against the Secretary of State and Dean Logan, who is the county registrar. And that is what's happening right now. And that's really real, happening in real time. That's not a conspiracy theory. So there you go.
Where's your evidence it's rigged? Where's your evidence it's real? Where's your evidence it's legit? Because Chris Cuomo and the AP told them so, fam.
Yeah.
Here you are. Look at the board over here. We're going to take a look at this right here. As we know, mail-in ballots, they come in late, and we know they favor Democrats. No, you liar. Natural Progressive, Roar Media, roaring out there. What will we do without you guys? What will we do without you? Got 113 on the YouTubes, and Kathy Looney, happy Friday. She's at work. Happy Friday, Kathy Looney. Happy Friday, Looney. She's over on the Rokfin.
Happy Looney Friday.
Thank you for the Super Ray. There's 9 people there. We need to get more in there. Fam, I didn't even put up. Let me put up the folder. As we're talking in the beginning, we're trying to waste a little time to get people in here because
it's not time wasted.
It's not time wasted, but we're trying to extend it.
Fam.
Because, well, I mean, what the problem is they're not giving out people's notifications anymore. So it's like it's a slow triculation in now where it used to be a lot quicker and a lot faster. Okay.
I like what Magnetic Perturbation said. He says there are mountains of circumstantial evidence. They are plainly denying access to available direct evidence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I really want to say,
where's
just
that
to
at?
make clear, Raji's doing a lawsuit for the primary, and the same configuration they used in the primary is the same configuration that they did for the general.
Yeah.
Except actually they were allowed 30 days. They changed the law so they could do it 30 days before.
Yep.
Before election night, that they can process vote by mail ballots. And Dean Logan falsely interprets that as scanning and getting access to the vote count.
Right. And so that's another thing. So if you're going to count ballots early, right?
That's fraud.
And that's fraud too. But what I'm saying is, you normally, like we said this earlier on the show in case you didn't watch it, if you're going to count these ballots early and you're going to say, well, there's normally, we call races early, like for in Raji's case, they called the race right away when people were still in line to vote. The New York Times called the race for Brad Sherman, right? And they say, well, we know this is going to go this way because there's a pattern that usually follows, and this is the way it's going to go. So yes, this is why we called it for Hillary. This is why we call it for Brad Sherman. This is why we call it early. Why didn't Bernie Sanders during the primary, and why didn't Trump during the general get the election in those individual states called when he was way ahead? Right? Like you waited till the last second. You waited till the day after to start doing this. Do you see that there's no consistency in their allegations? And this is the same exact, as Jonny said, the same thing that they're doing in the general. So then by default, at the very least, you need to start questioning, wait a minute, you're right. This isn't consistent with their reasoning and their logic. There's none of that.
In other words, if you strongly believe that 138,000 votes can go for one candidate, why wouldn't you afford Bernie Sanders' voters, not Bernie Sanders, his voters, the same privilege or the same mechanism or the same type of way of counting and stuff? They waited until they got up into the 90s and they stopped the counting. And then all of a sudden, everything changed. And like I said, they make you believe that it's like a different set of ballots that are coming in. Oh, they're counting the mail-ins last. No, mail-ins were already counting in. They were already mixing in. They already gave you a sample size and a pattern in which they call these elections. Now they just deviate from that. Oh, but it's a special election, fam. It's different.
Yeah, well, they're admitting that they think it's fine to count these ballots. So it doesn't make sense what they're saying. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, either or. All right, let's get started. That's enough. All right, Jose Tavares, how you doing? Thank God it's Friday. Couch, 12 people watching on the Rokfin. Kathy Looney's watching, but she's working. Get over to the Rokfin, Rokfin. Thank you to our Patreons, and thank you everybody else for being you.
Somebody called us the Convo coup yesterday.
We're Convo cooing. We're cooing people with combos. All right, so in 2019, there was a report that came out, and I have a little clip here from a news thing. It's only about 3 minutes long and stuff. This was in 2019, because believe it or not, a lot of times, years and years after a certain situation, a certain case, you will not find the truth because the FBI, all these intelligence communities, they hold on to their documents. They hold on to their memos. So therefore, you don't know about the truth, what's going on. And then it's just kind of like this whole election process. They pause it out, stall it out to where it doesn't make that much of a difference anymore. And a lot of people are not paying attention to what happened in 69 or 73? I think he was shot around there. It could have been 69. 1970. He was shot. And this is Chairman Fred Hampton. I was going to bring my picture down here today. I have it upstairs. But they have now just recently declassified some documents last year, late in 2019. And this will give you a little example about what's going on, how this particular case wasn't just done by locals. It went all the way to the top. And it relates to what's going on today and how we are being just pitted against each other and who's pulling the strings. Take a look.
And Rob, some call that deadly raid the massacre on Monroe Street. Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were killed, but it was also really a turning point that took years to uncover government motives and their efforts to silence the Black Panther movement. Today, Hampton and Clark's loved ones, though, they held a moment of silence, but they will not be silenced at all as they continue to speak out about that deadly raid and today's issues as well. Ground Zero, the two-flat Chicago police raided 50 years ago, killing Fred Hampton, the chairman of Illinois' Black Panther Party, his then-fiancée 8.5 months pregnant in the same bedroom when police busted in.
When Chairman Fred looked up from the bed, and he moved real slow, and he never moved out the bed and laid his head back down slow. And I left that room with no blood on my clothing, which indicates he had not been shot while I was in the room.
Chicago police shot and killed Hampton and Mark Clark, who was the Panthers' defense captain. Today, their families, along with dozens of Black Panthers and community members, gathered to remember that moment. Blair Anderson said he survived the police raid that morning because of Clark.
In my opinion, and a little romantic it may sound, makes Mark Clark the hero of December 4th.
Today, Clark's family still carries this message. What happened 50 years ago still happens today.
The deaths, the assassinations continue. The police assault on the Black community is horrendous.
And while time has passed, the lessons of those original Panthers continue, and the activism as well. Joan McCarty now teaches at Spelman College.
I always remember what Fred said, you have to keep the revolution alive. You have to keep struggling. So that's the next generation, and that's one of my contributions.
What Fred used to say was that the beat goes on, and the beat goes on.
The next beat is the next generation. Fred Hampton Jr. now leads the Black Panther Party Cubs, and he's also consulting movie producers as they turn Fred Hampton's life into a movie.
This is still a battle to make sure that that legacy stays intact, you know what I'm saying? So again, this is the closer we come engaged into a process of a project, a movie on Chairman Fred.
And Fred Hampton Jr. tells me he is actively involved on the movie set. The story will reflect on his dad's life and December 4th, 1969, the actual moment, the day of the raid. The movie hasn't been titled just yet, but Hampton Jr. says that it is going to be out next year. It's also really important to note as well, the federal government, Cook County, and the city of Chicago, they did pay out a $1.8 million settlement to the survivors and also to Hampton and Clark's family. So that tells you where the culpability was as well.
Hey, if you like
this picture, but I just wanted to show the article that we're going to put up right here. You can see this is done by the Zago brothers. I thought it was really important. This is going to be the same picture from the article we're going to put up. And this is done by the Zago brothers. It's I really thought it was important to go get this and show their work because it's amazing, because he asked me what I would want. And take a look at that. That's going to be mounted and up on our wall. But you can see this new document that will show you that was just released. The same picture. Fred Hampton right there. And I think this is a picture they recovered from the family that was kind of beat up and crinkly and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But it shows that it went all the way to the top, fam, inside the article. Let me just put this aside. Hold on one second, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to put this to the side, and I'll take care of it after. Sorry. The mess.
So basically, J. Edgar Hoover was involved in Fred Hampton's murder.
What does that mean, fam? I mean, I'm just wondering your initial response.
Do you have anything more to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, inside the article, it just talks about it. Like in March 1976, we sat in the Chicago courtroom while the FBI and Roy Mitchell testified to the civil rights case. And it pretty much just goes into, I want to go down a little bit, where it talks about this one particular program, the COINTELPRO. And in this case, they didn't want to release all the documents right away, fam. They had to constantly fight to ask for documents and more documents and more documents and more documents. And they have all inside this article, that the big part, John, it says, the court held is in no uncertain terms that we had amassed a powerful record of 2 successive police, prosecutorial,
thank
you, and FBI conspiracies. And inside here, they literally have the bonus money that was okayed from Edgar Hoover to give to these informants, these cops, for doing certain things. And they have every single one of their files, their memos. They got a hold of the memos. And it took years to get this. And just think about it, how long a case like this can take and how much money it could bleed you. Because the FBI talks about the way, and Ray McGovern talks about this a lot. There's a lot of FBI agents that will hold on to information, they'll thwart information, and they won't give it to you. But these released files showed that it went all the way to the top to J. Edgar Hoover. And a lot of people might just kind of say, oh, well, what does that really mean? Fam, what does it mean? Because a lot of people talked about, it was the local cops. They got some help from the FBI. Mm-hmm. It was one of those things where the locals killed him. No. If it's going from the very top of the FBI, it's coming from the government. The government was trying to stop a man like Fred Hampton because it's just what they were talked about, Chris Hedges talked about. A lot of people have been talking about it since this came out, is that once he started bringing people together, and I'm talking he was bringing the worst of worst people that we would say today. He was bringing together what people we would call white nationalists back in the 60s and the 70s, and he was getting them to march together. The FBI, the CIA, the government saw him as a threat and had him assassinated.
Right, and this is perfect because this is what's happening now. You see the visceral attacks on those of us who are interested in building a rainbow coalition, interested in talking to the working class and elevating that class struggle, because through elevating the class struggle, you also elevate the concerns for racial injustice, because a lot of that has to do with miseducation. Yeah. On one end, poor working class white people have been told and taught to blame the immigrants, to blame other people, when it's really not those people you should be looking at. You should be looking at the top. In the same way, now what's happened is the black imperialist has shown up, and the black imperialist in Barack Obama has made this issue worse, because now they have promoted intersectional fascism, right? We have all these people like Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, and all the goons that they have put in the incoming Joe Biden administration, who are, we have the most intersectional and diverse administration, but it's a bunch of warmonger, torturous pieces of shit. Yeah. It doesn't matter what color they are. Yeah. And Fred Hampton warned us about this a long time ago. He says if we don't fight this imperialism, we're gonna have a black imperialist. It can't just be about leading with the identity politics of it. It's got to be everything, working people against the empire. Yeah. And so when you do that, when you have shows like this, and when you have other shows that focus like Jimmy Dore's, and you see that your focus is on actually really uniting people, not uniting party lines, not uniting you to be assimilated into swallowing the mainstream propaganda narrative, but uniting the people, the classes across the board. When that happens, you are a threat. This is why we are getting calls to deplatform people like Dore. People like us have been like, there are vicious attacks right now, calling to deplatform us, saying you shouldn't listen to them, you shouldn't subscribe to them, they should be taken down. There's a reason for that, and you have to take notes on who's calling for that and why. Most of the time, it's people who want to reform the Democratic Party. People who want you to believe that the squad and all of these people working within the Democratic Party are going to be the way to achieving things. And that is not the case. And we don't sit there and tell people that you should take down this platform or not, because they're a bunch of Democratic idiots. Even though I may think they're idiots, they have a right to a platform. But when you start saying, no, shut them up, take them down, that's dangerous. And they're threatened by that, because imagine if everybody could listen to what we're saying. Think of how the connections we would make. Think of how we could bring people together.
Yeah. Yeah, fam, let's talk about a story that really brought some people together. This is a crazy one. Our good friend Niko always talks about this one. Johnny, on this next one, the title is really quick. It's let me roll it down. And it's called In Chicago 1969 When Black Panthers Aligned with the Confederate Flag-Wielding Working-Class Whites. And I want to go down to the Chicago in the 1960s, if you go down to there. Because pretty much the beginning of the article talks about how Donald Trump got a lot of more votes from people of color and people from the LGBT community and just workers who were sick and tired of the Democratic Party for leaving them out in the cold and didn't think that Donald Trump was necessarily the bee's honey, but he was better than the establishment who was working against them constantly. And a lot of people did fear the money that big tech put into Joe Biden's pockets and his warmongering. It's crazy when you have a guy who amped up the drone bombing by 400%, but yet can sit there and say, I'm better than the Democrats because I didn't start any new wars. I mean, it's like,
yeah.
Jeez, I mean, this is a peacetime president. That shows you where America is right now when it comes to our foreign policy. Chicago in the 1960s was a brutal place for poor people. Okay, black, brown, and white people all dealt with poverty, unemployment, police violence, substandard housing, inadequate schools, and a lack of social services. Ethnic and racial groups each created their own social service and activist networks to combat every kind of oppression. One was the Young Patriot Organization, the YPO, which was based in Hillbilly Harlem, an uptown neighborhood of Chicago populated by displaced white Southerners. Many YPO members were racist, and they flaunted controversial symbols associated with Southern pride, such as the Confederate flag. But like blacks and Latinos, the white Young Patriots and their families experienced discrimination in Chicago. In their case, it was because they were poor and from the South. In his short time as a Black Panther leader, Fred Hampton wanted to advance the group's goals by forming a rainbow coalition of working class and poor people of all races. Former members of the Chicago Panthers and YPO tell different versions of the same story of how the groups connected. Each attended the other's organizing meetings and decided to work together on their common issues. Over time, the Black Panthers learned to tolerate the Confederate flags as intransigent signs for rebellion. Did I say that right?
Intransigent.
Thank you. For signs for rebellion. Their only stipulation was that the white Young Patriots denounce racism. Eventually, Young Patriots rejected their deeply embedded ideas of white supremacy and even the Confederate flag as they realized how much they had in common with the Black Panthers and Latino Young Lords. And I just want you to show that picture right there, okay? And this is what we've talked about this a lot, you know what I'm saying? That he didn't care about their flag. He's like, it's symbolism. He convinced a lot of Panthers that were like, no way, no way. He's like, trust me on this. And before long, they got rid of the flag. They understood what it was like.
Because you can't force people to do something. You got to let them see, and then they do it. Because if you tell people to do something, and they have these beliefs that are embedded through miseducation and fear and manipulation, then if you tell them something, no, it's going to be worse. And Franco was mentioning that in his stream yesterday. You know, you got to let people figure it out for themselves too. You can drop all these hints, but like if you're going to demand something and say you're a moron because you're doing this, like that's not always going to work. And he used a different strategy, and it worked because all it takes is you guys fighting together for a common cause and them seeing, hey, this guy isn't the problem. He's standing side by side with me. I've been misguided my whole life. Let me fight who I really need to fight. That's dangerous. That's powerful.
Yeah. And this works. And you know, when I bring up a lot of these stories in the past and whatnot, we talk about this. I'm not trying to alleviate myself of any responsibility or try to blind myself to what goes on. I'm just trying to present solutions that will actually work because they've worked before. And these are the things that really scare the shit. They scare the shit out of the elites and the people up top, whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, we've talked about this before. Like, why do black people have to take a backseat and bite the bullet? And, you know, people gloss over the racial issues that obviously happen on a regular basis. And it's not that, you know, I don't want to say that anybody's dumb or whatnot and stuff like that. It's that people just get defensive right away. So when you put them in a position to say, hey, you're responsible for what happened in the past, and we have to recognize the racial disparities, sometimes they look at it as like, well, what about me? I'm poor. I'm not getting anything. And they get in the stance like this. So it's kind of like that movie Bobby we watched when Morpheus was saying, all you got to do is just tell these people a little bit what they want to hear. Make them think it's like their idea. Now, that might not be the most genuine thing, but like I said, I think it's the most effective, because when you tell them, hey, man, we're in this together, we're getting screwed, and then we go through this fight together, those white people are going to see, damn, you really are getting oppressed. They look at you differently, whatnot. They treat you differently sometimes, and they'll see that. But you got to first form that bond.
You build empathy. That some people haven't been, haven't had the upbringing that they needed to have. This is years and years and years of racism in this country, and I'm not, and by any means, saying that it's okay or that it should be on the backs of the minority communities who have suffered. But at the same time, when we're hitting a breaking point where everybody is suffering. Everybody. Yeah. And so in order to make that connection that we're all suffering, there's got to be some sort of, okay, like, I understand your point. I understand why you're upset. Now here, listen to why these people are upset. And that's why there's you can build these connections. Reverend Annie Chambers, who has been on Slow News Day several times, she was also an advocate of this too. And it's amazing to me, and she's a powerful Black woman, and this is what they're afraid of, you guys. This is why they say, oh, those people, they're all Nazis, da 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 da, and there may very well have been Nazis. I mean, there were white supremacist flags, there were all these symbols and all of that, but I think some people that day found out that they were being used, and they found out that nobody was going to save them, and that in itself is the allowing people to say, wait a minute, like, I've been led wrong, whether it was for Trump, whether it was for putting too much reliance on Bernie, whether it's for putting too much reliance on any sort of party. People are realizing, like, these fuckers they don't give a shit about us. They don't really care about us. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fam, I got one more speech, Johnny. It's about 5 minutes. I don't know if that's too long, but towards the end of the speech is where he starts talking, and it's something that you wouldn't be able to say today. All the power to all the people. And then he went through every single group and said that. Now, you can't even say that today. It would get taken down if I said,
what? All the power to the people?
But he was saying,
oh, okay.
He was saying each one individually and stuff.
Yeah.
But I want you to look at the crowd. I want you to notice what's going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? And this is the thing. I keep saying this. This is what they're scared of. And I remember, somebody at a rally out here in Beverly Hills, and we saw people fighting, the Proud Boys fighting with, some of the Black Lives Matter people. It's like, you guys have to realize that you have a lot more in common than the people that you are fighting about. Like, you know what I'm saying? Those people that are up top there, it's like professional wrestling. They say what they want. They keep the divide going so they can hold on to powers. That's why I believe that, the elections are so much of a mechanism. It's the illusion that you have a democracy. But let's take a look. This is one speech. I don't think the speech is played enough, this one. It's not the cleanest sound, but once again, take a look.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois, Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton. And a lot of people don't understand the Black Panther Party's relationship with white mother country radicals. A lot of people don't even understand that word that Elwood uses a lot. But what we're saying is that there are white people in the mother country that are for the same types of things that we are for stimulating revolution in the mother country. And we've said that we'll work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism, and we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people, and we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people. Everybody in the state of Illinois is going to have to be involved or even around the revolution, because we're going to have one. We're going to have to do more than talk. We're going to have to do more than listen. We're going to even have to do more than learn. We're going to have to start practicing, and that's very hard. We're going to have to start learning, and you learn through practice. We got to start making mistakes, and you learn through making mistakes. We got to start getting out there with the people. And a lot of times we think we're better than the people, but that's an insult, and that's criminal. Think you're better than the people. But we got to get together and learn where it's at. It's going to take a lot of hard work. That breakfast for children is something else. You ought to dig on it. Every sister in this audience. Now, every sister in this audience ought to get themselves together and come on down and help us with that Breakfast for Children program. You ought to come down and help feed them children in the morning. We have Breakfast for Children because we teach the people through practice, through observation and participation, that people can be fed free. That's the people's thing. Socialism is the people. You're afraid of yourself. If you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself. We know they have our pictures. We know they're looking for us. We know they want us. But we're still saying that even though we could be in a sense, as far as this system goes, on the mountaintop, we in the Black Panther Party, because of our dedication and understanding what's in the valley, knowing that the people in the valley, knowing that we originally came from the valley, knowing that our flag is the same flag as the people in the valley, knowing that our enemy is on the mountaintop, our friends are in the valley, we say even though it's nice to be on the mountaintop, we're going back to the valley. I be in the office every day. I be in the streets propagandizing every day. I be working with everybody every day. I be teaching that solidarity is the thing. The end of a complete wipeout of imperialism is the thing. So if you're going to be thinking about me, that's what Bobby would be teaching. If you're going to be thinking about us, all we say is ain't no thing about going nowhere, getting killed. All we want to know is that you're doing what we'd be doing if we were here. And you got to do that. You can't do it unless you believe that you can do it. In the spirit of liberation, we understand that they want everybody in the party in jail. And we know that if we try to figure out and separate and divide who should go and who shouldn't go, we spend more time doing that than working for the people. So the quick solution, the speedy one, nobody goes. Nobody goes. We all stay right here. With the people. Because we love the people. Okay, you can put your hands down now. We say all power to all people. We say white power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. X power to those that we left out. We say Panther power to the Vanguard Party. When you leave here saying the last word, before you go to bed tonight, say I am a revolutionary. Make that the last word. In case you don't wake up, then somebody might believe it and you might, end up in what they call a revolutionary happy hunting ground. Say that I am a revolutionary. Say it when you're going out. Everybody want to leave. Okay, we're going to say it while we're going out. Hey, we're going to start a thing called Free Fred. Don't that sound nice?
What do you think, man? I mean, a lot to unpack there, right? Including everybody, inclusive stuff. He also explains socialism. Yeah. If you're afraid of yourself, if you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Because socialism is inherently being for the people, for the working people. The problem is it's often maligned by authoritarianism and this fear of from the capitalist system. Now, maybe not any singular ideology is the answer for America, but socialism in itself, you're a card-carrying socialist the moment you got a social security card. You're a card-carrying socialist the moment you're driving public roads. And so what he basically means by that is you're against communion of the working class if you're against socialism, because what they told you that socialism isn't what it is, because capitalism in itself, and you can argue with me on this, but the whole point is to compete for resources. So it's that same mentality that's been applied to this country, to compete with your brother, your sister, your whoever, against for what? For money, to make somebody else at the top richer. Right? There's no gain that you get from that. If, for instance, if you have a company where everybody that works for the company owns a portion of that company, that is more of what I'm picturing, right? Something that is fair, not because you're working your ass off and then all the money is going straight to Jeff Bezos. That's the problem. And so that's what he means. Like, we need to build power together through the collective. And it doesn't matter what color you are. That's what they're afraid of. We need to band together because we have the numbers. We just are too busy fighting each other.
Yeah. And it's stuff is like hyper pushed by the mainstream media to keep people at each other's throats. keep people divided. And, and Whitney Webb said it not too long ago. She's like, the elites are laughing at us. She's like, ha ha, you people are so easy to divide. Once we come together and we understand, and I said this a lot of times, there's plenty of vanilla in that blender. I'm not saying that it ain't unequal, especially the judicial system and the jail system. I mean, there's so many people like, oh, well, it's not racial anymore. I'm like, well, why are there more black people in prison than there are white people? I mean, there's a lot of white people in prison, don't get me wrong. 750,000 black people, 700,000 white people. Why? Well, it's the old school days and stuff. Well, then we have to correct that. If we have people sitting in prison for a long time that are unjustly sitting there for low-level crimes because they were black in the 1960s and 70s, let's undo that. Let's commute their sentences and set them free. So if you want to fix the system, let's go and fix the system.
Right.
But also understand that we have to be in this together because, like I said, when I talk about vanilla in the blender, there's other ways they get you. The opioid addiction, the way they're getting all these people addicted and they're killing themselves. The military guys that are going off and blowing their brains off to PTSD. It's poverty, which is killing everybody. 80% of Americans are now working paycheck to paycheck. Let's join together, take care of these son of a bitches, and then we can work out all the other stuff too as well. But until we take care of those son of a bitches running everything, controlling the media, controlling what you say, we ain't going to do anything. And they're going to push to keep us divided, and they're doing a good job at it. We got to fight back and understand where we come together and take these son of a bitches down. Because once we take these son of a bitches down, fam, that's when the real healing begins.
And that's why it's a great thing when somebody like Niko goes on a conservative platform or somebody like Jimmy Dore goes on Tucker Carlson, because we all have the same idea. Cornel West, all these people that are willing to talk to people who may disagree with them or an audience that may not have heard that perspective from to themselves, meaning they are used to hearing people like Neera Tanden, people that are neoliberals that use identity politics, that you can't even have a conversation with them because you get they say, oh, you just said this, you said that. You can't even have a conversation with these people. But when you talk to somebody that's talking economics, talking class, and it's talking about how that impacts everything else, education, etc., and the imperialism that we push out onto other countries impacting our immigration system, when you have people like that going live and talking to a conservative audience, that conservative audience is going to hear what real anti-imperialist leftism is, not what they have been told it is by Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and all these other idiots.
Yeah. And the imperialism, they let people like John Brennan come on their channels and tell you stuff to just keep you so divided and stuff. That guy said the problem is authoritarianism and liberalism, like libertarianism. It's like, dude, you're talking about everybody who's not a neoliberal, who's not part of the establishment. That's the problem. And speaking of people who say we can have differences, I still support the Convo Couch. This is from Otis B. We still cool? Of course, we were never not cool. I can disagree with someone on one issue and still fight with them together on the issues we agree upon. And you know what? Hey, man, we can agree to disagree, and that's important. We have to get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. Plain and simple. What I saw right there with Fred Hampton was him talking to a lot of white working class people. There were a lot of conservative white people in that audience probably, that he would be convincing them that socialism is not what they're trying to make it think like,
right.
what it seems like.
And he's not saying you're a dumbass for not understanding socialism. He's saying this is how it works. You don't have to call it socialism. Like I said, when I was in Iowa, I saw so many co-ops, but they didn't call it co-ops. They called it something else.
Yeah.
It's important to also be able to explain what these things are. And Caitlin Johnson put it up today or yesterday. Like, if you're going to be talking only theory in an intellectual elitist manner that nobody's going to understand you, you seem like a Trekkie who just wants to speak Klingon to his nerdy friends just to feel part of it. Yeah. And that's what these fucking people are. They're classist as hell. That's why they were mad that Jimmy Dore said it, because he's a jagoff comedian. He's a doorknob. He's this and that. Like, he's not intellectual enough to lead this. Well, guess what? That is classist as fuck, and how dare you be classist if you're calling yourself a fucking socialist?
Yeah, thank you, fam. I'm gonna leave it at that. When you call Jimmy a doorknob, we just gotta go move on. Molly Magnuson hanging out on the Rokfin, giving us the Super Ray. Very generous. Thank you, Molly.
Molly 2020.
Molly 2020. Molly's like the fam's favorite name over here. Let's get on to the next one, fam, because where's my money?
So speaking of corrupt, fascistic idiots.
Yes.
I mean, this guy, we have segregationist Joe and Kamala in power, just in case you guys forgot. And by the way, did everyone forget that they were planning all these things, all this insurrection coming up in DC, and none of that happened. They wasted all this money. Okay, and they did all this.
Chris Small said that. He was like, how much did you pay on this thing? You better give us our checks.
Yeah. So here's Joe Biden. He said on January 10th, he said $600 is simply not enough when you have to choose between paying rent or putting food on the table. We need a $2,000 stimulus check. And all these progressives were like, yeah, Joe, great job.
He's repeating after Trump.
And now let's take a look at what's going on, because people are pissed. Okay, they feel betrayed. So betrayal, Georgia voters enraged after Democrats' promise of 2,000 checks becomes 1,400 under Biden's stimulus plan. The 1,400 was under Trump. Okay, but President-elect Joe Biden released his long-awaited stimulus proposal last Thursday that contained an inauspicious provision for millions of Americans expecting an additional 2,000 stimulus check instead of that long-promised amount. Biden's proposal only calls for an additional 1,400 stimulus payment. Georgia voters who recently delivered the Democratic Party control of the U.S. Senate, I don't know about that, by electing Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff, say they feel betrayed, let down, and outraged at what NBC Peacock host Mehdi Hassan has termed, quote, Biden's first broken campaign promise.
Good job, Mehdi.
Good job, Mehdi.
Good job.
And yeah, so they're pissed, understandably so, because and if you want to defend this, right? Well, do the math. He met 600 plus
it was
1,400. That was number one. That was Trump. That was Trump's stimulus. It's 2021, and if you go look at nearly every major country, even third world countries by our standards, they're getting like 50 to like 90% of their wages paid by month, by the time, like, if they're not working. People aren't getting that. They're just asking for, like, they're getting maybe $250, $300 a week. Nobody can survive on that. And if that, not everybody qualifies, because guess what? We live in a gig economy in America. So let's say you drive for Uber. You don't get 15 an hour. You don't get 10 an hour, 12. You get shit. I think in California it might be like 10 or 9. You get really crap. You get crap. And you don't get a minimum wage. Let's say you were a server. You would in most states you get like $5 an hour plus tips, right? So let's say you're not working and you're getting unemployment. The unemployment you get might be the equivalent to what you would make in 1 day or 2 days. Yeah. It's not enough.
In Florida, it's capped at 300. In California, it's capped at 450.
It's disgusting what's happening, you guys, and nobody's getting anything, right? So that's Biden's one of Biden's broken promises, but there's more, because I've seen too many neo-progressives, fam, be cheering for how Joe Biden on his first day, it was amazing, all these things he's passing.
It's a breath of fresh air for this cabinet pick.
Oh yes,
it's a breath of. I think we can all agree it's a breath of fresh air. Even in the pundits on CNN, which right now where they're trying to do like what we're doing here, they're trying to have like the podcast set up and whatnot and the cool stuff in the background, because they ain't got no young people watching it. I wonder why, because the politics and the policies that are involved in our government and our mainstream media are all for just older people who could take care of themselves, who've been around. Nothing for the young people. They're not ever talking about cryptocurrencies and how they're trying to shoot this shit down, because mostly young people are involved in that. They're not talking about the fact that you won't get nothing down the road because it's the young people. But their whole kind of mentality of now, it's a breath of fresh air, fam. Now that we have a president it's a new day that we can find out within the press conference or or talk to their staff. We don't just find out from their tweets. So now, you know what I'm saying? So now begins the process. It's like, oh no, now you switched up from a guy you went after to destroy 24/7 to now a guy you got to prop up 24/7. So it's like you went to the other side of the coin, and it's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I mean, Corona doesn't even matter now.
Oh, yeah, Corona's going to... Biden says... Oh, I'll let you do that. Come on, let's go. Go ahead.
Okay, so Bloomberg government, right?
Look at this.
Okay, Biden's HHS freezes Trump insulin epinephrine rule until March. So the rule was published in late December, part of a large-scale regulatory freeze by the new administration. The HHS Thursday froze the former Trump administration's December drug policy that requires community health centers to pass on all their insulin and epinephrine discount savings to patients. Ooh. Centers that won't pass on the savings wouldn't qualify for federal grants. The rule, which was finalized in late December, is delayed till March 22nd. The Department of Health and Human Services said it in a Federal Register post. This freeze is part of the Biden administration's large-scale effort announced this week that will scrutinize the Trump administration's health policies. If the previous administration's policies raise, quote, fact, law, or policy concerns, the Biden HHS will delay them and consult with the Office of Management and Budget about other actions. Former HHS leaders argued the drug would benefit patients who struggle to pay for expensive insulin and allergy medication. However, the health centers say that they already pass on those savings, and this was merely an administrative burden that paints them as entities that price gouge patients. So again, they're using the excuse that because it was Trump, now they have to scrutinize everything to make sure it's up to their standards, even though this would be helping people get access to their fucking insulin. Yeah, because it would be a discount, but insulin's fucking expensive. I don't know if you've seen the last few videos of people saying, I can't afford to buy insulin for my kid.
Yeah.
I can't afford. I mean, it's heartbreaking, right? And they're not talking about this. Do you see CNN talking about this? No. And if they do, they're going to say, Trump's policies were disastrous and just confusing and actually hurt us somehow, even though they won't specify how. Yeah. Because they have to be partisan, because that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to be hacks. And this, of course, is just showing you that it's all about symbolics to these people. It's not about actually helping you. It's about symbolics.
I mean, that's taking away discounts from people who need this whatnot. I mean, right now, if it's something that's good, no matter if Satan put it in place, if it's good for the people, let it stand. And I think this was part of my cheerleading speech at the Forced to Vote thing when I talked about all the families who have to make a decision whether to give their kids insulin or put food on the table. Are we going to leave them behind? I mean, I said that because this is an issue that we've talked about before, and we've seen this before. Like, we've seen people die in this country because they can't afford insulin. Not having it. No friggin' way. Call this shit out. That is bullshit. What the Biden administration is doing, it's right on par because, Big Pharma's in his pocket too as well. Yeah. So, I mean, please.
Yeah. Don't be surprised. Like, there's no pushing these people because they're owned by corporations and private business. Okay, so somebody on my Facebook, because they're, don't go on Facebook. God, it's full of neoliberals and neoprogressives. Like, seriously. Yeah. It was awful. The day Instagram was especially awful for me with all of my friends dancing. And all like, oh, Kyle, it's a new day, it's a breath of fresh air, all this bullshit that they were saying. And one of my friends was like, I want to post your stuff, but I'm afraid people are gonna attack me. I'm like, I know, like, this is insane. So this person said, for the leftists that claimed Biden is just as bad as Trump, I'd like to tell you what Biden has done in the 5 hours he's been president. He has gotten the U.S. back into the Paris Climate Accord. He has overturned the Muslim ban. He's ordering an official COVID federal response, because believe it or not, there wasn't one. Restored global health security and biodefense. Will end Trump's efforts to leave the World Health Organization. Okay. Passing an executive action to immediately try to reunite families separated at the border. Biden was my first or even second choice, but he's nowhere near as terrifying as Trump. Not only is he already making a difference, but he doesn't have a cult following, and we will hold him accountable throughout his presidency instead of blindly following his every word.
Put that up.
Okay, so this person put that up, and I had a response, and my response isn't even, if I had more time, I will write an essay on this, because I guess I'm gonna have to, because people are throwing the stupid shit at me, and I just don't have the patience for it. The Paris Climate Accord is symbolic, you guys. The Paris Climate Accord does not ban fracking. The Paris Climate Accord does absolutely none of that. It is mainly a symbolic thing. You could literally put I'd rather not have the Paris Climate Accord and actually take actions against what's actually happening than do that. So when you're latching onto the Paris Climate Accord, why are you so obsessed with it? Do you even know what it is? And do you even realize how symbolic it is? I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm just saying it's used as to like anchor people back in. The Muslim ban, again, it's symbolic, because we're still sanctioning, droning, and likely to wage war, not just with Iran, but with Iraq. We see what Syria, how Israel attacks Syria, and we're going to be talking about that. We see what's happening in Yemen. If we really cared about Muslim people and brown people, we wouldn't be fucking bombing them, droning them, and letting our vicious allies, Saudi Arabia and Israel, pretty much exterminate certain groups of people. So the Muslim ban is symbolic. Again, why is Joe Biden amping up what he's going to do in the Middle East now? He's bringing more troops in the Middle East. That's what he's going to do. So don't bring me the whole Muslim and symbolic. Again, they focus on symbolic.
He's already talking about reversing the decision in Iraq that Trump was going to bring some people home.
We're going to.
You're going to get to that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
My bad.
So the COVID federal response does nothing if no healthcare or aid to people and small businesses happen, right? What is the COVID federal response? Because what the federal response has been absolutely disastrous. What's their response? Oh, you go to the doctor.
Wear a mask.
Here's some ibuprofen and just yeah, that's it. You don't get ivermectin. You don't get anything that will actually help you. No. Oh, if you're dying, if you can't breathe, oh, you'll be fine. If it's
Can I get a
if you're
test?
Not almost dying. No, you don't have health care.
Oh,
so
no test.
What
Go wait in
federal
line
response?
at Dodger Stadium.
We're shutting down small businesses. We're not giving them stimulus. You get what? You get maybe $1,400 plus $600. Okay, you get maybe $2,000, maybe $3,200 in a whole year.
That's ridiculous.
To survive? Are you fucking kidding me? That's the federal response?
I
okay.
like number 4.
And then biodefense and all this bullshit. What the hell is that? What does that even mean? Do you even know what that means? Who told you this? Chris Cuomo, CNN, MSNBC?
Biodefense. Johnny, wait. Hey, Johnny, what's biodefense? Help us out. Try to make something up that sounds good.
Did you guys ever see that cartoon? It was like osmosis in a pill. I don't know.
Yeah, Johnny Neutron?
No, something like that.
Basically, none of this
biodefense.
shit. Like defending ourselves against biological attacks. Dude, we have a fucking pandemic. Nobody has single payer in this country. We can't even get the squad to force a vote to rescind their vote from Nancy Pelosi because they have to make sure that they're good with her. We can't even get our own progressives to do that. And we can't. And now he's taking away the fucking discount for insulin. Are you fucking kidding me?
Bam.
I'd rather have Osmosis Jones in power.
Here's some biodefense Osmosis Jones.
I'd rather have
Chris Rock,
Osmosis
I think,
Jones.
Is he?
Yeah, it was Chris Rock.
Chris Rock. Guys, read fam, what the fuck is that? Biodefense. These
Osmosis Jones
no
for president 2024.
No limits in their
Okay.
BS. Sorry, go ahead.
Number 5, the WHO, right? Because people love throwing out the World Health Organization. I haven't done extensive investigation, but for the little I've done, the WHO is corrupted. And it's basically just a name of an organization. Bill Gates is heavily involved in that. It is very similar to an NGO, the way it's operating now. It hasn't done much of anything. Again, even if it were a good thing to have it, let's say, symbolic. What actions are we talking about here? What tangibility are you showing me? You're literally regurgitating symbolism. Okay, 6. Biden is part of the administration that deported more than any other POTUS, okay? So you're talking about reuniting families. That was already going to happen. Niko talked about it. He did a whole fucking video on it. You guys can watch it. That was already going to happen. And also, Biden is part of the administration that led to these issues. That under Hillary Clinton's Secretary of State, she literally destroyed Central America, not to mention, of course, Libya in the Middle East. And now, okay, thank you, Biden, for starting to make a dent on the problems that you and your cohorts helped create. If that, because like I said, that didn't even happen. And then on top of that, be aware that we are going to be cooing more countries, because that's what Democrats do. They coup neocons, both, and neoliberals. They coup several countries, and they have their eyes on Bolivia. They've had their eyes on Mexico. They have their eyes on multiple countries in Latin America and Central America in general. Yeah. But this is like, so on one end, Biden, and I didn't even put it here, he's going to stop the Keystone Pipeline, right? But at the same time, he's already planning on how to coup more and more people and how to intervene in the Middle East.
You know, it's so funny, too, because he did nothing with Standing Rock. Didn't say a goddamn word. Took fracking money right out of the gates. And then he always said, I'm not going to ban fracking. What are you talking about that? I mean, this is after the primaries. I'm not going to ban fracking. And guess what? The number one cause for a country to have mass migration. It's called regime change by way of civil war. And a lot of these countries where people kill themselves and kill each other, just like the Obama administration was responsible for Honduras, the policy in Venezuela, the coup in Ukraine, the coup in Syria, the coup in Libya. This is all Obama-Biden administration. And you're talking about what happened in Libya and Syria has caused so many migrants to leave those regions and go into other parts of Europe, like flood Europe like crazy. Gaddafi talked about it. He goes, you try to eliminate certain these factors, you're going to have migration like crazy. And we see about the migration problem into Europe. In situations in all parts of Northern Africa. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. And it's all from regime change started by who? Us, with our allies.
Exactly. And just the last thing I just said was, Because the guy said you can hold him accountable. And I said, you can't hold him accountable because you have no power.
Why
And
do
the
they say
squad
that?
doesn't challenge Democrats. You hold him accountable before he's elected, not after. Anything else, enough is symbolic BS. So if anybody comes at you with this fucking bullshit symbolism that, oh, Biden already did this, when you actually do the research and you get down to what he's actually doing, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of nothing.
Yeah.
So
why do they
that's
say
that.
this all the time? Oh, we're going to hold them accountable. And it's like, you didn't hold them accountable. They got their way. You know, they did what they had to do. It's not like you holding them accountable is more than just putting them in the corner for a little bit and letting them come out and have their way. It's making them change the way that you were trying to hold them accountable for. We caught it. We held them accountable and they made the right decision. No, we held them accountable by saying bad. Now what are we doing next? And they go on with their same policies and their same ideology and nothing changes. That's not holding anybody accountable. You, like you said, Fiorella said it best. You do it before you vote for them. Never after. Never after.
You call me
Fiorella?
Okay, so shifting onto our serious gears, to expand on what Biden and the Biden administration are going to likely do, a twin suicide bombing occurred in Baghdad's Tahrir Square. It was packed with people shopping, left 24 dead on Thursday afternoon in the most deadly attack in more than 18 months. And it is not known if this was an ISIS attack. It has its hallmarks. The bombing was 4 kilometers away from the U.S. Embassy compound and occurred in an area which has witnessed several mass protests over the last year and a half. In the fall of 2019, protesters often besieged security forces at Al Jumhuriya Bridge, not far from the market where the bombings took place. And they said the online video appeared to capture the second of 2 reported explosions in which up to 100 were reported wounded near the Bab al-Shariki area of central Baghdad. There have been increasing threats of low-level attacks on convoys that supply the U.S. in Iraq. Last year, dozens of attacks with 107mm rockets were fired at the U.S. Embassy compound and at U.S. forces in Iraq. The U.S. has drawn down most of its troops, leaving only several thousand personnel, many of whom have been relocated to the autonomous Kurdistan region, which is more sympathetic to the United States. But in other areas of Iraq, the pro-Iranian militias of the Popular Mobilization Units run checkpoints and have threatened the U.S. These groups include Badr Organization, Khatib Hezbollah, As-Salib al-Haq, and Harat Hezbollah al-Nujaba. The day before the attack in Baghdad, there were reports of an attack on a convoy carrying equipment to the U.S.-led anti-ISIS coalition. This is a very interesting coalition. We already know what that means. And yeah, basically, you know, this is an area which is frequently attacked, basically, right? This is an area where it's frequently attacked. Now, this is going to obviously provide Joe Biden with an opportunity to show U.S. support for Iraq. And Biden has said that the U.S. is back and the world can expect the U.S. to care again about foreign policy. And work multilaterally to solve problems. Iraq, of course, is a complex problem. The pro-Iranian groups want the U.S. to leave. Groups like Ashab Kaf and others linked to Iran are threatening people who work as interpreters. For instance, according to a tweet by BBC's Nafish Kafar.
Everybody wants us to leave.
Which, we should get the hell out.
Yeah.
And what's likely to happen is that Joe Biden is going to amp up our presence there. He's already doing it, is what the reports are coming from the White House. He's already doing it, and he's going to do that and say it like, oh, we stand with Iraq. We stand with Iraq. Yeah. No, you don't stand with them. You stand against them, and you stand to profit off of manipulating, cooing, and spreading this pro-democracy idea through sanctions, through drones, through bombs, through more military interventionism. This is where your U.S. tax dollars are going.
We can look for any type of possible false flag, a U.S. convoy get bombed or something, giving him a reason to get back in there as much as we can and amp it up. You know what I'm saying? The military-industrial complex makes a ton of money off perpetual war. This is what's going on in Syria, fam.
Yeah, so an Israeli warplane struck Syria, killing 4, including children. And this happened again. Remember, this also happened on January 6th when we were so busy with the Capitol riots. It also happened then. So this happened again. And this was central Syria. It killed a family of 4, wounding others. And state news agency SANA quoted an unarmed military official as saying the attack took place shortly before dawn when Israeli warplanes flew over neighboring Lebanon. Israel has launched hundreds of strikes against Iran-linked military targets in Syria over the years. So again, now you have Iran linked to Iraq, you have Iran linked to Syria, and so the U.S. is going to use this as an excuse to save the people when that's not what they're doing. The Syrian military official said the attack was aimed at several targets and near the central province of Hama. It added that Syrian air defense units shot down most of the missiles. The official said the strike killed a family of 4, a married couple and their 2 children. The strike also wounded others, more children. And the family that was killed had been displaced by Syria's nearly 10-year conflict. Gee, and who is at fault for helping push this 10-year conflict, Pasta?
Joe Biden? Sorry. Am I blaming the wrong person? Barack Obama, Joe Biden?
Well, Barack Obama
I mean,
and Hillary Clinton and the neocons.
The neoliberals that are neocons. I mean, it's the war machine over and over again, the establishment. It's just, we talked about how this thing started, you know what I'm saying? And Anthony Blinken, who's now back in Joe Biden's cabinet, said that he was mad at Joe Biden for not being enthused enough to getting into Syria when it first started. Really, I mean, this is the type of people we're bringing back into power.
And I just want to say that the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, an opposition monitor that tracks Syria's war, said it recorded 39 Israeli strikes against Syria in 2020 that hit 135 targets, including military warehouses or vehicles. Israel views Iranian entrenchment on its northern frontier as a red line and has repeatedly struck Iran-linked facilities and weapons convoys destined for Lebanon's militant Hezbollah group. And
that's what they say, but they're really trying to destabilize the region so much so they can control a lot of the pipelines that go through there. They do it for their own political and economical reasons. And this is sick. As soon as Bibi Netanyahu congratulated Joe Biden, the next thing he did was go ahead and bomb them. Because he knew he had the red light. He had the green light. He had the green light to do whatever he wants to do because, Donald Trump, who a lot of people will say was one of the best presidents as far as being fair and close to Israel, it's equally as fair when it comes to Joe Biden and the other neocons. Joe Biden has said he's a Zionist.
Yep.
So therefore he's going to let Israel do what they want to do. Since 2021, I mean, since this year started, they've already bombed, I think 3 times or something, including Damascus they bombed. So crazy.
Did you put this in there?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
Syria and Biden crosshairs? Did you put that in there,
no,
UK?
I don't think
Johnny?
I meant to. But I just wanted to mention really quick Vanessa Beeley because she is in Syria. She's living there.
Yeah.
And you guys should check out her article. It's talking about Israeli war crimes in Syria, the Biden strategy. The deluded, quote, left have unleashed hell upon the Syrian people by celebrating the election of #Biden, a Clinton-era war psychopath. There is no difference between parties. The predator class is in charge. Thank you, Vanessa Beeley, for highlighting that.
That's Patreon too.
And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she talks about how the attacks that Syrians have experienced and how the entire family was murdered. She's going to update this as new information comes in. She said I wanted to read this part. I've been talking about the Biden administration for some time now in relation to Syria, and I have predicted that the aggression against Syria will now be escalated. Since the new year, we have seen an increase in U.S.-backed, trained, and equipped terrorist attacks on Syrian Arab army and civilian convoys, including fuel convoys. This is a deliberate strategy to push the Syrian people further into food insecurity and deprivation with the coldest winter months now here. I will update as I get new information. The deluded left are celebrating Trump's departure, but with little appreciation of the hell they've now unleashed upon this country. The old adage of, quote, be careful what you wish for comes to mind. The Syrian people do not thank America for believing in the mirage of democracy and two-party politics. I hope with all my heart they wake up to the psychopathic, sadistic predator class that truly rules them before it's too late. For all of us, but most of all for the Syrian people who have already endured so much. And she is in Syria. And I've interviewed her before on Syria. She was the one that one of the journalists, along with Eva Bartlett, who exposed Syrian chemical attacks, who is being attacked, of course, by BBC state propaganda. Vanessa Beeley is from the UK. And they're basically BBC via Channel 4 is trying to paint them as complete conspiracy theorists. Oh my God, surprise! That they don't know what they're talking about, that, they're just spreading misinformation. And they're the real journalists, Vanessa Beeley. So thank you for her work. And I will be in contact with her soon because I do definitely want to get her opinion on what's happening.
And also the guy we've been talking about, Mr. Anthony Blinken, who's now the Secretary of State for Biden. says that Biden's Secretary of State praises Trump's achievement on Israel, and it says right underneath, the Biden administration may be looking to overturn many of the Trump administration policies, including making sure that your insulin is not cheap, but not when it comes to Israel.
Exactly.
The bombing is okay. When the shooting starts, the looting starts. What does he say? The worst thing that Trump ever said? Who cares when they have the same friggin' mentality from the other side? They don't care. They're war, death, predator class that Mrs. Beasley, Vanessa says, please wake up to. Wake up to who's really ruling you. It's not Democrat versus Republican over here. It's the military-industrial complex. It's the elites. It's this predator class, and they don't care. He's happy. Look at that smile on his face.
So Blinken praised Trump for normalizing relations between Israel and the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan as an opening pathway to Palestinian peace. Yes, embracing the attackers on Palestinians is really going to open the pathway to peace. You fucking dumbass.
That's
and
the
he
shit
said,
they tell people, and then people buy that shit. That's such a false fucking statement over there. I mean, that was controversy because now, like, Bahrain and all these other countries didn't recognize, and the UAE didn't recognize the Palestinians' plight. Exactly. They turned a blind eye to it. So how is that helping out the situation?
See, you see, they're not consistent, you guys. So he said, I think there are a number of things from where I sat that the Trump administration did beyond our borders that I would applaud. The Abraham Accords, absolutely. The work that was done to push forward on normalization with Israel, I applaud. It makes Israel safer. It makes the region safer. It's a good thing. I would hope we can build on that. So there you go, guys. That's, wait. Do you still consider Iran the largest state sponsor of terrorism? Blinken says, I do. Do you consider Israel a racist nation? Blinken, I do not. Graham, good start. The two men were responding indirectly to Rep. Rashida Tlaib, who said that on the morning on Democracy Now! That Israel is an apartheid state and a racist state because it had refused to give coronavirus vaccine to occupied Palestinians, even as it inoculated the largely Jewish population in Israel. I don't know that Palestinians might be on the winning end on that end. I don't know about the vaccine, but I understand what she's saying. Yes, I 100% agree with Rashida there. I believe it is an apartheid state, if not worse than that. And there is nobody right now in government that's really understanding of what's going on in that problem. And I know that, people have their opinions on it, a two-state solution, a one-state solution, whatever the case may be. But what is happening cannot be denied. What is happening to the Palestinian people, what is happening to the Yemeni people, which we'll go into next, none of this stuff can be denied. And Israel and Saudi Arabia and our allies are responsible for it as well.
I think that the most disgusting thing is that people who feel like you ideology-wise, right, okay, they still deny this kind of behavior by the government. In other words, they act like they're better, for the Palestinian people than Donald Trump was when they're the same.
No,
they're the exact same. And that's the part that I find truly disgusting is like, hey, whatever you believe in, at least own what your government is in there is saying right now. You know what I'm saying? So if you believe as Rashida Tlaib, then call out the Biden administration for what they are. If you believe that it's Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham and Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden, call it out for what it is.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Don't say it's something different.
Because because one's a Democrat and one's a Republican.
Exactly. I'll get that for you.
And I just wanted to read what this person said. Shawarma Kami. Palestine is not celebrating today. Venezuela is not celebrating today. Iran is not celebrating today. Syria is not celebrating today. Iraq is not celebrating today. Cuba is not celebrating today. Bolivia is not celebrating today. Yemen is not celebrating today. Chile is not celebrating today. Afghanistan is not celebrating today. Honduras is not celebrating today. I'm not letting liberals enjoy this. There's nothing to enjoy, only the continuation of capitalist terror and hegemony. Also, a preemptive response to liberals finding this. I'm Syrian. Ask me about the Obama years. Here you go.
And once again, like, if anything, whatever you believe in, does it make a difference in socialism, capitalism, whatever, and stuff like that? Wouldn't we be better off served by keeping our troops and everybody out of these regions? Why can't you just have a libertarian mindset? Like, let's just do a hands-off approach for once. We're always in there putting our nose into business and stuff. Let's just pull out. Let's get the hell out of here. Why do we have to spend so much money, so much time destroying other people's lands for our corporate needs? Because that's what it's all about. It's about resource extraction. You can try to deny it up and down. It's about resource extraction. Just get the hell out. Just get the friggin' hell out. Keep your ideology bullshit aside. Well, we got to go fight them over there so they don't fight us over here. And we got to go fight socialism and communism so it doesn't end up on our doorstep one day. Just shut the hell up. It's about resource extraction, about corporations, about selling military hardware, where our money goes, the majority of our budget. Just stop. Pull the frig out and let these people be. And just get the hell back over here. Let's start taking care of ourselves over here for once.
Yeah,
and if that
for
makes me a
once.
nationalist because I want to pull back, then so be it. Whatever. I hate this globalist mentality that we got to put bases all around the world and stuff like that. And they have a problem, and we got to take care of it. Bullshit.
Globalism isn't collectivism. Don't mistake their capitalist globalism for collectivism, because that's not what it is. Caitlin Johnstone said, Control F Yemen. There is nothing on Yemen from Biden. And the News with Shepard Smith said President Biden plans to sign more than a dozen executive orders to address challenges like the pandemic and student debt crisis, which they didn't do loan forgiveness. They only just extended the stop on the interest for a few months and repayments.
Hey,
here's the full list, blah, blah, blah. And she said Biden chose not to do this on day one. He could have, but he did not. One thing Biden can do starting on day one is end U.S. involvement in the Yemen war, involvement that he helped initiate. Quote, by executive order, Biden could get the Pentagon to end intelligence sharing for the Saudi coalition airstrikes, end logistical support, and end spare parts transfers that keep Saudi warplanes in the air. And this is from Hassan El Taib, lead Middle East policy lobbyist for the Friends Committee on National Legislation and Progressive Organization. They told this in these times, he could restore humanitarian assistance to northern Yemen. He could use his power as president to put pressure on other nations that are supporting the Saudi coalition, like France, the United Kingdom, and Canada. Get them to follow suit. He could have the State Department put a stop on all arms sales to Saudi Arabia unless they meet certain benchmarks. But he didn't, and he's not going to, because he profits off the war machine. Exactly. And what is going on in fucking Yemen, it is the biggest human rights atrocious violation ever. I mean, the things, and there's a picture right there that Johnny, if you can show it, and I want to have on other people to talk more about this, but this shit is disgusting, you guys. Like this is like what we do to these people in the Middle East. And all these people, all these neoliberals clutching their pearls. It's a new day. It's great. It's not a new day for these people. It's the same shit, different warmonger. Same shit, different fucking warmonger. That's what it is to these people. We don't give a shit because it's not in your peripheral. It's not right in front of you. You can say that, you help support minorities. No, you don't. Joe Biden is one of the biggest segregationists. He's one of the biggest warmongers. And who gets bombed? All these people, all these brown people abroad. You don't care because they're not Americans. And that's a shame. That's a shame, because not only does it ruin them, it ruins us too.
Yeah. And this is one of the biggest things. I want out of these areas. I want these people to be whatnot. I want to stop supporting these wars. And, this is something that Donald Trump was awful on. When people go, I'm saying he didn't start any new wars. Yeah, he funded Saudi Arabia to the T on this. Now, I don't care if he started or not. He kept it going. And he was really close with the Saudis. And this continued to go on and on and on. And the Houthis, Joe Biden has never said anything positive about them. Here you go. I don't want to.
So just Biden urged to reverse Pompeo-Trump move on the Houthis.
Bullshit. He didn't say anything when back in the days. He won't say anything now.
He's urged, but he's not going to do it. Republican and Democratic lawmakers, experts, and aid groups are warning of mass starvation in the country already. The location of major humanitarian crisis if the decision is not reversed. And of course, the designation took effect Tuesday, but those calling for a reversal say Biden could avert a mass crisis with immediate action. This is more of like Biden should do this. The Houthis in Yemen has been suffering, this a humanitarian crisis. So here's the thing. This is what they say. The Houthi terrorist designation will effectively destroy the structure in the place that allows the importation of necessary items for civilians. Critics say commercial importers are fleeing businesses in the country over the fear of running afoul of U.S. sanctions. United Nations officials have warned. While Secretary of State Pompeo has said that the State Department is carving out humanitarian channels and developing licenses to exempt import from sanctions, critics on the ground say they have seen little to no concrete language that such policies are in place and are effective. This is coming at the absolute most difficult time when over 16 million Yemeni women, children, and men are living in severe and worsening food insecurity, said Michelle Nunn, CEO of CARE USA. This particular designation is tantamount to a cease and desist order for the humanitarian response in northern Yemen, and its impacts will lead to more despair and lives lost across the whole of the country. So Biden has yet to comment on the Houthi terrorist designation, and his incoming National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said he supported reversing this decision, tweeting agreement with the Republican Senator Todd Young, who earlier criticized the policy move. So yeah, they're painting the Houthis as terrorists because they know exactly what they're doing. They're trying to blame somebody else for what is really truly the fault of ourselves and our allies. Like I said, Trump could issue an executive order to end this, and he's not. Biden could issue an executive order to end this, and he's not doing it, and he's not going to do it because we supply Saudi Arabia with weapons. Like, if we cared about actually ending humanitarian crisis and spreading democracy, we would have ended Yemen a long time ago. But we don't give a shit. That's why we don't end Palestine, because it's not monetarily beneficial, it's not resource extraction beneficial, and that's the truth.
Will you shut up, man? Will you shut up, man? Man, that's a bunch of malarkey. Let me read some super chat contributions. John, you got anything to say on that subject before I read some super chat contributions?
That's a bunch of malarkey.
Thank you so much. It is. Michael Williams, they give it a super chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. Biden hasn't been on the job 3 days yet, and he's already backing off to $2,000. Nothing will be March.
Yep, maybe till March.
Maybe till March, which means nothing. On the Hill today, Crystal Ball was making excuses for him. Of course she was. Trey Wright, thank you for the super chat contribution. Always appreciate it on the couch. Reeve Barker, what up, Reeve? I have to deal with my conservative brother talk about how Biden is too far to the left. Now, that's the funny thing, saying. And an extended family being on, I can't. Why is it? Let me. You know what I can do? My bad. I can do this to make it bigger. That will let me already. That's it. That's up here. There you go. I have to deal with my conservative brother talk about how Biden is too far left and extend my family being overjoyed because history being made. That's with Kamala Harris, right? Mm-hmm. We're in California. They know what Kamala is, but still, SMH.
Shake my head.
So much hate. Benny Massimino. Benny Massino, que paso? Freddie Hampton. Fred Hampton knew it was a class war, not a racial war. That's why the establishment assassinated him, and they assassinated him at 19 years old.
They want a race war. Now, that's what they want.
Vera Basaggio. Romeo. Thank you so much for the Romao.
Are you Portuguese, Vera? It seems Portuguese.
Thank you so much for the super chat super sticker. Benny again. Thanks, Convo Couch. Thank you. Here's Muhammad Afzal. He's there. Thank you so much. I think that's all of them over there. And, wait, we got some super rays going over here. Look at this one. Who left a super ray? Carrie Mark, how you doing? Thank you so much for the super ray. We appreciate it. Biden equals kids in cages. Yep, that's right. Seth Peterson, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Seth Peterson, for showing us the love. Maria Renale, ciao amici.
We're so dumb.
That's a super ray. And Molly Magnuson we got before. Thank you so much. 33 watching over on the Rokfin. We need to get to 50 to make fam happy. Fam, yesterday. Okay, let's just talk about this yesterday. The stupid friggin' memes that just went out of control.
I mean, okay, so I was initially really pissed, but they're pretty funny. They're pretty funny, okay. Misty had her opinion on this. Now we can't,
New York Times,
can't pick it up, but
Bernie Sanders once again basically is the star of a meme.
Yeah, he basically became this giant meme. Bernie did, right? Because he wore, in his Bernie fashion, he wore these mittens. They were knit to him by a teacher a long time ago, and the first time he ran, and she gave it to him. She was giving them away, and he wore them. And he wore this, he doesn't dress like a typical politician. So this is Bernie. I mean, this is how he's always been, low key and all that. All he fucking had to do was sit in a chair and have his arms crossed and wear a mask and look like he's pissed off, because that's just his resting bitch or Bernie face. And he's way more popular than Joe Biden. He was trending #1 on Twitter. Okay, he was the talk of the town. It just goes to show you, and I use this because I wanted to show people, okay, that there's a couple of things happening here, because Bernie's mittens voted for torture Avril Haines. Now, first, let's look at some of these memes. This one right there, that's Bernie and I playing chess.
That's me when I play you chess. I say checkmate.
Yeah, right. You fucking have not said checkmate ever. Okay, and this is Bernie right there with Joe Biden. And basically, that one is, to me, this one is saying that Joe Biden he was selected, right? Like, this is the guy that should have won. Joe Biden was fucking selected. And because if he hadn't been selected, if he had been elected, he'd be fucking more popular than the guy. All he has to do is sit there and wear mittens. And then right here, somebody said, That moment when you are as old as people get, you've ran for president 3 times, and finally, after some heavy-handed political fuckery, you finally become president, and your entire day is upstaged by the cranky old socialist literally sitting and doing nothing. Meaning Biden lost. Biden, if you guys forgot, ran 3 times for president.
Yeah.
When the corporate debt machine blatantly robbed you of your primary victory, and you are what the entire country is obsessed with on Inauguration Day. And this is true. The corporate debt machine did rob him of his primary victory. The problem is he should have fucking fought for it, and he fucking did it. And that's what should be said. Bernie should have fucking fought for it, and he fucking did it. I had to put this one. Now, this one's for Misty, because Misty said, can somebody Photoshop Bernie into next to Assange, because all he did was actually sit out and not speak out for him. So I did, and there's Bernie sitting there as they're taking Julian Assange away and putting him in prison because he's under the Espionage Act and for being a journalist, for telling the American people the truth. And when Bernie was talking about the pardoning this Russian person, I said, Bernie, why the fuck aren't you asking to pardon Julian Assange? Bernie, why aren't you doing this? Like, I can think this is funny. At the same time, I can hold Bernie accountable, right? And then Johnny has one by Johnny Boy CA, who is not Johnny. What should have happened? President Bernie Sanders, there he is. That should have happened. But guess what? It didn't happen, not just because he was cheated, but because he was cheated and he didn't say anything twice. He didn't fight for it twice. You have to hold Bernie accountable, okay?
Breaking news, Bernie Sanders set to replace Kim Cattrall in the Sex in the City reboot. There he is.
So there he is. He's over there.
That's crazy.
And this one.
Why do you have to take away Kim Cattrall?
Yeah, I like Kim Cattrall. She's one of my
Snarky
favorites.
nurses.
You've heard of an elf on the shelf, but now get ready. Bernie in a gurney.
Bernie on a gurney.
Okay, but here's where my butt comes, right? It's funny.
Bernie on a gurney.
It's all fun and games, except the Assange one. The Assange one was for Misty.
Bernie on a gurney. That's great. I just got it halfway through the joke.
You're so ridiculous.
Sorry.
But meanwhile, this is from Joe Obama W. Trump. While everyone was focused on Bernie wearing mittens at the inauguration, he was also just voted to confirm Avril Haines as Biden's intelligence director. He could have voted no, you guys. Haines was instrumental in selecting drone strike targets, including U.S. citizens, and also helped whitewash CIA torture. We've gone over Haines multiple times, and you guys can look at it yourself. There it is, a vote summary on the nomination confirmation. Avril Danica Haines of New York to be Director of National Intelligence. There you go. She was confirmed.
Bernie Sanders, yay!
There it is. Sanders,
yay!
yeah. He voted for that. He voted with Rubio, with Schumer. That's there you go.
Rosen.
I mean, that just, Schatz. All these people. It's gross, guys, and you can see the link for yourself. We put it up there as well if you wanted to look at that for yourself. Now, somebody wrote a Substack, and I'm going to refer more and more to Substacks because we got to support our independent journalists. This is by John Reynolds. Bernie backs torture apologist as Biden's pick for Intel director, and he's quoting Bernie, working within the context of what Biden wants.
Can I read this?
Apparently also extends to other areas such as supporting drone warriors and torture apologists. So on the same day, Joe Biden spoke at his inauguration about, quote, restoring the soul of our nation, and social media buzzed with memes about the mittens Bernie Sanders decided to wear while in attendance. Drone warrior and torture apologist Avril Haines was also confirmed as Biden's pick for Director of National Intelligence. The vote was overwhelmingly in her favor and even included the support of Bernie Sanders. Haines worked as a legal advisor to the Bush administration in 2003, the same year the U.S. invaded Iraq over non-existent weapons of mass destruction. Starting in 2010, she was an Obama lawyer to the National Security Council, where, as reported by Newsweek, Haines was sometimes summoned in the middle of the night to weigh in on whether a suspected terrorist could be lawfully incinerated by a drone strike. In 2013, she was tapped as Obama's deputy director of the CIA, where she was in charge of determining the legality of who to place on drone kill lists. John Kiriakou, a CIA whistleblower who exposed the Bush torture program, told Democracy Now! That in almost all cases, Haines said it was legal to add names, including American citizens like Anwar al-Awlaki and his 16-year-old son. Quote, they were American citizens who had never been charged with a crime. They never had faced their accusers in a court of law. There was no due process for them. She's never had to answer for that. And she also played a key role in covering up the 5,000 plus pages of the Senate Intelligence Committee report on the Bush-era CIA torture by redacting the public version of 500 pages. And she later refused to discipline her own CIA agents that were caught hacking into the Senate Intelligence Committee computers. Why weren't they incarcerated? In an effort to thwart the investigation into the agency's torture program, and she awarded them the Career Intelligence Medal instead of holding them accountable. Meanwhile, Edward Snowden has to be pushed out of this country. Julian Assange has to be pushed out of this country. You guys should read that article. It is a great article, and he just basically ends up saying Bernie's going to do everything within the confines of what Biden wants. We already said that. It's really shitty because Bernie didn't have to vote that way. What happened to the anti-war, actual socialist, anti-imperialist Bernie, I don't know. But this is not good. And even if you like Bernie and if you like his mittens, you should hold him accountable because those mittens voted for Avril Haines to confirm her. And that is unacceptable. Okay.
DJ Elf says 435 watching, 300 likes. Please fix.
Yeah.
You guys hit that like button. Help us out. Over on the Rokfin, the Super Ray keeps going up because you guys keep helping us out. Cultist Damon. Please get Danny Haifong or Caleb Malpin on the show to talk about socialism. China today and the USSR from yesteryear. Let's debate anarchism versus Marxism. Authoritarian socialism. We've had Danny Haifong on the show before. We'll have him on again. And I'd love to speak to Caleb Malpin. I really do like Caleb. And once again, Caleb always talks about America's going to have its own brand, its own type of like hybrid socialism. It doesn't have to be any type of socialism or whatnot. And that's why I think a lot of people are scared
some people
about.
say, some people I know say, we need a little bit of authoritarianism. And I'm like, I'm not with you on that. I mean,
only in the kitchen. In the news is the last segment. Let's do this last segment. And you talked about John Kiriakou. It's a Greek name. And he talks about this. Is kind of funny because he was a whistleblower within the CIA, exposed a lot of torture stuff and whatnot. So this is a little story about Kiriakou talking to Giuliani. And this kind of really sums up the last several days of Donald Trump not pardoning in Julian Assange. It really is such a bad move by him and really is going to come back to haunt him. I don't think he'll be able to win in 2024 because of this specific move. When you had Republicans out there like Duck Dynasty guy Randy Quaid, Sarah Palin, Tucker Carlson, all these people going, yo, man, this is about the First Amendment. You better do this. Let's go. And instead, we knew you were going to pardon Bannon, okay, but Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, and you leave out Julian Assange and
come on, dude.
No Snowden. But here's John Kiriakou when he approached Giuliani about possibly getting a pardon. Now, remember, he's asking for this pardon. He's already served his time. They can still go back and charge him from other stuff. But the main reason why is so he can get his pension back. You know what I'm saying? Because he worked for the CIA for so long. So here's Kiriakou telling a little story about what he went through when he approached the Giuliani camp.
With 4 other people that included Rudy Giuliani on July 1st of last year here in Washington at the Trump Hotel. It was a meeting completely unrelated to a pardon. And I frankly didn't even intend to make the request, but there was a lull in the conversation, so I thought I'd take advantage of the opportunity. And so I said, well, Mr. Mayor, can we talk about maybe asking for a presidential pardon? He immediately said that he had to use the men's room, and he got up and he walked away. One of his aides who was there at the meeting then said to me, Rudy doesn't talk about pardons. You have to talk to me, and he's going to ask you for $2 million. And I laughed, and I said, I don't have $2 million. I said, are you out of your mind? $2 million? Why would I spend $2 million to recover a $700,000 pension? That doesn't make any sense. And I dropped it. But he said that that's what the price was. And now they don't see this as a bribe. They don't see it as buying a pardon. They see it as lobbying, which is, a dirty thing that happens in Washington. But this is the way Washington works.
Totally disgusting. What was the price for Julian Assange? You should have let us know. We would have started a GoFundMe and got that shit done. What do you want, $5 million? $4 million? Come on. But this is business as usual, and that's why we can't even take the Trump presidency serious, and we won't take his next candidacy serious, because when he makes moves like this about a guy like John Kiriakou, who exposed a lot of torture going on within the CIA, and you're going to say $2 million? What do you for a pardon? For a patriot? For a guy who told the people the truth?
He's a true patriot.
Come on, it's disgusting. We're going to get John Kiriakou on the show. I'm going to go call him up, get him on the show. Fam, another thing you talked about right now the lawn is dried. It's now they're just going to throw darts for impeachment all the time. Yeah. It's not going to be a serious thing anymore. Now it's going to be just thrown out all the time.
I don't even think it's ever been. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's even worse.
Politicized now.
Yeah. So Republicans are drawing articles to impeach Biden. Let's hear what she
Marjorie
has to say.
Taylor Greene.
She's a Republican.
President just filed articles of impeachment on President Joe Biden. We'll see how this goes.
And I'm pretty sure it's regarding the election. So
I think it was a lot too with what's going on with the money in China, the laptop, all this other stuff. You know what I'm saying? His Burisma money holding, whatnot, and stuff.
Yep.
And you can even argue the fact that it's more powerful than the Democrats' impeachment.
Look at this.
Things.
Oh my God, this neoliberal right below that she endorsed conspiracy theories that 9/11 was an inside job, and that Sandy Hook was also staged. Okay, wait a minute, and that 9/11 was an inside job. What are you talking about?
Hey,
what do you? Come on, like by now, like come on.
I mean, you have to look into it. You can't just let a gloss over there because once that happened, all our civil liberties were taken away and it opened up Pandora's box to go into the military-industrial complex into the Middle East and turn it on fire. So
I think by that you mean, by that I mean like I don't mean like it was a bunch of actors. I just mean like we helped push that event. Like we helped create that to manufacture consent. That is like you can look and read declassified documents on that. I mean. What?
Jason Burmis has a film on that. Take a look at it.
Has a film on that.
Go to Burmese YouTube. They're up there for free. You can watch all his documentaries. I believe it's Loose Change, right? Is it Loose Ends or Loose Change? I always forget which one it is. Loose Ends, I think, is a playwright. Loose Change is whatever the case may be. It's up there. You'll see. It's one of his first documentaries. You can watch it for free. Jason Burmis. And you'll take a look at that. Make a decision for yourself. I don't think that you can not question all the things that happened. Because after 9/11, our civil liberties were deeply infringed. The Patriot Act came about. Spying was a regular tactic by our government on its citizens. But people to cheer for war. You're either with us or you're with the terrorist.
Right.
So
what does that sound like?
You're either with us or that mob outside, AOC.
You're either with us or you're against the fascists.
Yeah. Defense, we feel incredibly betrayed. Thousands of guardmen forced to vacate the Capitol.
Yeah, so after this, they were eventually let back in, but they felt like they've been treating these people like crap. They were piling them out there, making them work, and for what? So the thousands of National Guardsmen were allowed back into the Capitol Thursday night, hours after the U.S. Capitol Police official ordered them to vacate the facilities, sending them outdoors to a nearby parking garages after 2 weeks pulling security duty after the deadly riot on January 6th. One unit, which had been resting in the Dirksen Senate office building, was abruptly told to vacate the facility on Thursday, according to one guardsman. The group was forced to rest in a nearby parking garage without internet reception, with just one electrical outlet and one bathroom with 2 stalls for 5,000 troops. The person said temperatures in Washington were in the low 40s by nightfall. We were just there. And so this is how you treat the people that protect and serve? This is the people the people that are. This is how you turn these people against you.
Oh, absolutely.
This isn't fair. Johnny's friend is in the National Guard. How are you going to treat these people like this? Like they at least give them housing, lodging. No, you're just going to treat them like crap.
One bathroom for 5,000.
Sometimes they do. He said when he got deployed for the hurricane, they got hotels or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's cold there. We were freezing.
No, but it's freaking cold in D.C. right now.
Yeah.
It really was terrible.
Our country's just great.
That's Americans. Really 37 watchers on Rokfin. We didn't get to the 50 today, but we'll try harder next time. Hit the thumbs up if you can.
The new Fred Hampton should talk to these National Guards.
Oh, yes. Wait, you got the Boogaloo Boys thing, right? We have to watch that thing real quick. I didn't see this. I heard this is amazing. And once again, this kind of goes to that whole Fred Hampton thing, right? So, Johnny, please.
If you haven't seen it yet, there's been this video circulating. A man who aligns with Boogaloo Boys makes a statement in front of Michigan State Capitol. This was on the 6th, I believe, when there was supposed to be protests for the or the 20th. I mean, when there was supposed to be protests for the
inauguration.
I guess not. It looks like it was posted January 17th.
Yeah.
Well, in leading up to the
that week
inauguration, right?
That week.
So this is one angle. I think we're gonna go with this angle because it's cleaner. So authorities were prepared for demonstrations by anti-government right-wing protesters. Michigan State Police, Michigan National Guard staged near the Capitol. They did this across all states, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that Capitol. Around noon, a handful of members from the Boogaloo movement arrived at the Capitol. So they got their guns,
Antifa, Boogaloo, 3%ers, right-wing militias. they are not the irrational ones. If the government continues to be illegitimate and tyrannical and uncaring, the summer will be nothing compared to what is to come.
If Tulsi Gabbard would have, I love Tulsi. If she was a Democrat, I mean, I'd like.
There was like 50 of us there, and then like 100 cameras.
So this doesn't have the full speech, but so yeah.
Does the other one have the speech?
This one has the speech. So let's listen to this.
They mentioned Tulsi Gabbard, didn't they?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought I heard her name.
No, I didn't hear that.
Antifa, Boogaloo, and right-wing militias, they are the antibodies, not the disease that is destroying our country. The disease is a country run by two corrupt political parties that do not care about you. So deeply incestuous with corporations that they're indistinguishable from each other. A government that spent 6 months debating whether to give their own people $600, but only 24 hours to unanimously agree to give billions of dollars to foreign tyrannical governments and corporations. A government that has bombed villages overseas my entire life for my supposed safety here. This is a call for unity. For all of American people that realize the true threat against us to come together. For every mother mourning her children that was killed by police. For every business crushed down by state lockdowns. For every broken soldier sent to fight wars that have no point. This is our last chance to avoid either a tyrannical government or a bloody and pointless civil war among American people who do not have that much against each other and have more in common than they realize. And a message to the government. We come in peace. We do not intend to commit violence, but I am pleading with you with tears in my eyes and cracks in my voice. If you continue to oppress the American people, they will remain rational no longer. Thank you.
What do you mean by that? What is this about?
Thank you.
Yeah, he's not going to
incriminate himself.
Trying to incriminate.
100% agree. I mean, we've known for a few months now that the Boogaloo boys were not on the same radar as like any other white supremacists because they were the ones that were just militants. They want to arm themselves. Yeah. They just want to arm themselves. They're against the government. Some of them have different beliefs than others, right? They're not one giant thing. They just believe that they hate the authoritarianism of the government. What he said, I 100% agree with. I don't really care what he believes. What he's saying is 100% true. He is right. We have more in common with each other than we do with these people that are this two-party system that's basically not even a two-party. It's one big aisle that's pitting us against each other. He's saying people are realizing this. You guys are realizing it. And that's why these people are cracking down and trying to make sure that a sector of the left, whether you want to call them liberals, neo-progressives, boutique left, whatever, attacks and really hates everybody that disagrees with them, really makes them think that they're Nazis, really believe that they're against them, because if they get that, then we're not going to be united. And that's why I get so angry with these people saying, you're a Nazi for not being happy that Ashley Babbitt was killed. Like, no, I wasn't happy when black people got shot by the police. I'm not happy when these people, even if I don't agree with them, get shot. Like, it's not fair. That's not how it should have been. And if you saw that interview with Alex Rubinstein, he said if you remove ideology, the left would be cheering for this. Like this is what we mean. Like, this is not, we have to move forward this way, or he's right, or it's going to turn into a bloody civil war that is not going to benefit any of us.
And that's why I hate, like people going after the common folk, going after each other, because that's what they want. You know what I'm saying? And that's why, like, there's somebody who said just another Karen dead about that woman getting shot at the Capitol. I 86 that person right away, and he's a friend for a while. I'm not gonna have that bullshit. You're gonna pile on and agree with the elites who are pitting us against each other. I have no room for you in my life. You want to go after the people at the top? Go after. You want to go after Trump? Go after Trump. You want to go after Biden? Go after Biden. But you start pitting people against each other and saying it's okay for this person to be killed
by the police that you're supposedly against?
Exactly. I don't want to hear it. 86th. Get your shit together. Get your shit together, fam.
Put it in a box. Get it together.
I got one last thing. I don't know if you guys heard about
Queen?
this.
Yeah. This is, she didn't go to the inauguration. She went here instead.
AOC and Tim's with Cafe Bustelo and hand warmers for the striking workers of a Teamsters Local 202, fighting for a $1 hour pay raise tonight in the Bronx. So this was yesterday, a day ago. So that's interesting. I just kind of wanted to show
Yeah.
That
She didn't go
was
to the
happening.
inauguration. She went here, is what they said. She stayed home and walked picket lines. And
Oh no, that wasn't it. Oh, apparently Portland had federal agents deployed tear gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing, I don't know if you can find it real quick. There a supposed Antifa
the ICE. Yeah.
is putting things like screw Biden, we're against the whole system, blah blah
There's
blah.
been protests that are anti-Biden. They're
Yeah.
trying to hold him accountable from the left. So we'll be seeing more of that. Here's what I wanted to say. I want you guys' opinion on this.
That when you're standing on this line, you're not just asking for $1. You are asking for transformational change for your lives and for the lives of every food worker across this country, for kids of food workers across this country. Because there's a lot of things upside down right now in our economy. And one of those things that's upside down, sorry, it's cold out. One of those things that's upside down is the fact that a person who is helping get the food to your table cannot feed their own kids. That's upside down. The fact that someone who can help you get care, I want you all to know that when you're standing on this line,
I mean, here's the thing. I agree with her. Teamsters hit or miss with me.
And so what we're doing here today is taking the upside down and making it right side up. Yes. And the only way we do that, we don't do that with just like a politician like myself. We do that with people and collective struggle together. So I come
Where was she to hold Nancy Pelosi accountable for not getting those checks out?
Right.
I mean,
for all of our
just a phony act at this point.
Yeah.
coming
Just a
out
phony
here.
act.
Yeah, like,
phony
okay,
act.
good.
I ain't
I'm
buying
glad
it.
she did that. But why doesn't she push back when people in her own party are preventing this from happening? Okay.
And she wasn't there for the forced vote.
Well, she was against forced to vote because she said that, if you want to look who's for it, look at the co-sponsor list. You don't have to force people to go up for a vote. But meanwhile, when it was time to impeach Trump, well, we got to put people on her record for the historic time. She pretty much just completely contradicted herself on why she wouldn't do forced to vote versus impeaching a president because she'll play politics.
And also, just regarding this issue in itself, $15 an hour we were supposed to get that. We were talking about that since 2015. It is now 6 years later, and you still want to give people $15 an hour. That's not enough. And it's something. She's fighting for one wage, or she's saying she is, and she's joining these unions. I think it's important to join unions. However, we do have to note that unions at the top are very corrupted as well. It's not just a matter of saying I'm pro-union when a lot of these unions are operating like mini corporations because the union leadership, and there's a difference between the union leadership and the members, there is, are acting against, they're acting for their own self-interest at the top. It's the same thing, the same type of hierarchy. So you have to be careful, and you have to really realize because it's happened too in California when, for instance, what's his name ran for chair, Rusty Hicks. He was supported up by a lot of the union members, pro-worker union unions. No, it was the leadership that was fine because he buttered their bread, but the union workers were not for him as much. Yeah. But they were forced. They were threatened that if you want to be a part of this union, you got to support Rusty Hicks. That's how it happens with this sort of union corruption. So there's so many layers to talk about when you talk about these things. But I mean, at least she wasn't at Biden's inauguration. I don't know if that is true or not.
No, she skipped to go to the Teamsters thing. I want you to read this last super chat over here so you can, by Steve Wilbrandt. What's up, Steve?
Yeah, 9/11 was an inside job. 2 hours of research will convince anyone. Exactly. I agree, Steve. Why are you so afraid of saying
he's agreeing with you over there. It's like
wait.
So I want to say that Teen Vogue covered it, and AOC skipped inauguration to support Teamsters union striking in the Bronx. I'm trying to think of if I was in AOC's position, what would I do? Is just showing up to a protest enough?
Well,
no,
not at this point. No,
because as a politician in Congress, you have more power than a regular protester, right?
Yeah.
Right.
She has
the power to lead one, a mass.
She has the power to go and be like, hey, let's sit down with the fucking people they're trying to negotiate with and be like, I'm going to pressure you Let's
Right.
talk. Let's get this done. I'm
Yep.
gonna put you on blast.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like
It's theater.
that's negotiation and stuff. That's something I would do as a congressperson.
I mean, you can't sit there and say, why aren't we taking care of the frontline workers and we need to help them when you're not going to hold your own party accountable for not giving those checks. You voted for this CARES Act. And then he's like, oh, she didn't the voice vote and then their little 1-minute speech and stuff like that. But she didn't draw a line. She didn't put it down and say, no, we need to get this many people, this much money. This is disgusting. Let's do this. Let's lobby against this bill openly before not just the last day when it's on the floor and stuff. And also, too, right before the election when Nancy Pelosi plainly said that she's not going to get these checks out there because she doesn't want Trump to just campaign and put his name on it and stuff like that, not give him what he wants. She should have said something right there. Like, no, you give this people this money right away. We haven't got any money, and we got $600. And how long? I mean, come on. She's going to have been kicking and screaming for this stuff for a long time with the squad and members for a UBI. You know, if they don't ever hold Nancy Pelosi accountable for not bringing their standalone bills to the floor. I mean, Ilhan Omar has a standalone bill to have rent forgiveness and mortgage forgiveness. And like we learned in the video we put out there the other day that I put out with these people and stuff is none of these bills, none of these moratoriums, they're not even real because you have to, number one, go to court to prove that you've lost that job and all that stuff. You have to go to court and prove that stuff to get the extension, and none of it deals with the debt of the past. You're still on the hook and responsible for that debt. It's not been forgiven. It's not been washed away. So there's nothing real when it comes to a moratorium or help out here for rent and mortgage forgiveness. Why haven't they gone and say, Nancy, put our goddamn bill on the floor. Put the bill on the floor right now. They don't do that shit. They just put it out there. Look what I did. But they're not holding their feet to the fire.
Right.
But Donald Trump impeach him. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get it on there. Let's let's go.
And her criticisms are always to the Republicans only. It's never to her own party. Yeah. And that's and that is what I look at. And again, like you said, legislation. She could introduce bills and she's not introducing anything like that. And so again, I do believe that it is theater. I think it looks good. I think it's also interesting that this happened after she lost a lot of credibility with a lot of people, from the force of vote thing to the Nancy Pelosi vote to, from the CARES Act to all these things that have been a lot of people have been realizing, feeling like she isn't who they thought she would be. Yeah. And then she goes and does this.
Yeah.
You got to think like a a PR person sometimes, what would give her good publicity.
Yeah. She wasn't the person we thought she was. She would have put a flag in the ground instead. It's like, you're not getting anything. I'm not going to support Biden. I'm not going to vote for your chair. I'm not going to do anything. Us and our crew, we're going to stand down unless we get this.
And they have the power to do that because they're popular.
They have the power, but they don't. They just grandstand. They get out there. They virtue signal. They don't do anything worth of significance. They're terrible on foreign policy. They push censorship.
Nothing on
And now here she's with a bullhorn in a protected environment. Get out of here. Maria Rinaldi, thank you for the Super Ray. It says, yes, 9/11 was an inside job. Thank you, Maria Rinaldi, for the Super Ray.
Maria Rinaldi.
We had almost 40 people on that, Rokfin. We're down a little bit right now. But I want to thank everybody who showed up today. We had a long day. We were up since early this morning. Raji Rob's case. You can see the denial of data.
You don't have enough evidence. I just don't see the evidence.
Reminded me of the denial of our elections being fair and free.
Yep.
It's exemplified in what happened this morning once again, and that was a case that's gone pretty far. Raji's been defending himself, but once again,
continue to go far.
I hope he does. They denied the public the right to see what's going on, just to look at logs, to look at data. Let me see the data. That's it. Yeah. They won't even let you see it. So what are they hiding, right, Johnny? We have that out there. We have what Californians need to do to avoid eviction. Pretty much on Monday, it's going to come down to a decision by Gavin Newsom and a lot of his lobbyists, the landlord lobbyists, the real estate lobbyists. They've kicked all the activists out of the room, all the civil lawyers that are trying to really help the people. They're out of the room. We're making this deal. We're expecting a extension of AB 3088, which is AB 15, probably kicking the can down the road, doing nothing for rent forgiveness of the past. You're still going to be held on the hook, whatnot. And here's the thing, too. When we come out of this situation, things aren't going to be the same. People aren't going to have the jobs they used to have. What are they going to get? What are they going to do to get going? If AB 15 was to end at the end of this month, you'd have to pay 25% of the last 5 months. They can take you to civil court for the rest of the money. That means the 75% of the last 5 months and the 6 months previous to that, which we were all told to shut down and stay at home. And in California, it's really, really strict. So they can take you for that to small claims court to get that money from you. You're still on the hook for it. Garnish your wages, right? And then you would have to start paying full rent February 1st if they don't extend this stuff. They're talking about another 100-day mask mandate, lockdowns like crazy. Can't even pay a bill here in Pasadena, right? So, I mean, this is
This
what
is
they're telling you. So if
ridiculous,
they don't
guys.
extend this stuff, they're really kicking people out in the cold. So if they do extend it for 6 months, they're still not going to do anything with the money that's owed, which is awful. All that money's been coming in from the federal government. Gavin Newsom kicks it all to his friends and his what do you call them? When your clients, your Jesus Christ, I'm losing my. No, it's not his associates, his consultants. Sorry. A lot of consultants get a lot of money. That federal money goes to a lot of consultants, and it's just washed away. So instead of giving all that money to your friends, to your consultants, to these high-priced friggin' money people that are just going to take this money and then not do a lot of work with it, give it to the people. Give it to the rent forgiveness.
You're asking Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi's nephew.
I'm running out of words. I'm out of mindset. So let's get out of here today. Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Johnny, you good?
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll make sure you get over to our Rokfin, Rokfin. If you can subscribe and you can afford to, we would greatly appreciate it. It's only $9.99 a month. You get our premium content as well as everybody's premium content across the board for that $9.99 a month. So it's really worth it, and it does help us out. And if you want to join in the gains, go over to get yourself a crypto wallet, get yourself some Ethereum, turn it into Ray, and join in the gains with us. We said this months ago, right, Johnny? When it was 14 cents, it's now worth almost $5. So that is awesome. And thank you to our Patreons, and thank you to all those people who help us out on our PayPal, all the love you give us.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to get out there rocking in the free world. There's a lot of stuff to go do, a lot of events to cover. So for Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on the ones and twos, let me say doot 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 doot. Doot.
All the power to the people.
Whole power to the people.
All power to the people.